Welcome everybody to the Town of Barnstable's formal site plan review. Today is August 17th, 2023. My name is Brian Florence and I'll be the chair for this meeting. This meeting of site plan review is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting. If so, please make your presence known. Seeing none, this is a fairly new process for us in that this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Town of Barnstable zoning ordinance section 240.1.2B4, which requires that development and modifications that meet or exceed the thresholds established in subsection B of the ordinance below in the town Hyannis zoning district or downtown Hyannis zoning district shall be reviewed by the building commissioner or his designee at a public meeting, which public comment shall be allowed. So that's how this meeting is going to work today. In terms of housekeeping, the purpose of the site plan review is to ensure that the site plan for proposed development is in compliance with local, state, and federal regulations before a project is submitted for permitting. To that end, this meeting brings all of the town's regulatory agencies together in one place so that you don't have to go from department to department in order to try to understand what's required of you in order to obtain a permit. While we may, as a courtesy, provide insight into what regulations may apply to your project, such as building codes, plumbing codes, wiring codes, fire codes, this is not an approval of those regulations. This is strictly for a site plan. The way this project works is we will read your case into the record. You as the applicant will then have an opportunity to bring a brief presentation. From there, I'll ask staff for comment or questions. If you need to share your screen so that you can discuss your site plan, Sarah, are you able to help with that? Or
yes, of course.
Okay, so she'll make that. Sarah will make sure that you're able to do that. If you need assistance with it, just let us know and we'll try to figure that out for you. Once staff has completed their portion of the meeting, I'll open the floor for public comment. Please raise your hand or indicate through Zoom that you wish to be heard. It'd be helpful if you could mute your microphone until it's your turn to speak. When you do speak, please be sure to state your name before speaking. We take notes of these proceedings and there will be a document that comes out from here that'll be available if you need. Just contact Maggie for that. All right. I think that pretty much covers everything we need to say this morning. If you like Maggie, we can go ahead and read our case this morning into the record.
Of course. Good morning. Our case today is site plan review 23-63, John O'Day as agent for Niall Morin, owner. The address is 50 Main Street in Hyannis, map parcel 342026. The zoning is downtown village, as well as the WP overlay. The applicant is proposing the demolition of an existing commercial building and construction of 5 residential duplexes consisting of 2 bedrooms each.
John, welcome. Thanks for being our first applicant under this process.
Yeah. Thank you. I thank John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. Also in the meeting is the property owner, Niall Morin. We were before most of this group on July 11th for informal site plan review. But I will try to bring up a plan here just to briefly refresh us all. Oh, but not allowed to do that yet.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you. So as was indicated, this project site is at 50 Main Street in Hyannis. It's developed with an existing commercial building, and the project as proposed is to demolish this building and construct 5 duplex residential units. Since we were at informal, we've continued our discussions with the planning department, as this project will require a special permit from them because the frontal building cannot meet an 80% minimum frontage requirement. And so we will be filing that paperwork with the planning board shortly. We've also provided some follow-up information to the engineering department about the proposed drainage structures and about the existing versus proposed septic flows of this property. At the informal, there was quite a bit of discussion about, utility coordinations and things that would need to make sure to be addressed before building permit process. And we're certainly aware of those and we'll be working towards them. But I think as a brief introduction to the property and the project, I think I would turn it back to the town and we can go through the comments again if necessary, or just be noted of what they were at the informal and discuss any new matters.
Great, thank you, John. You can go ahead and drop your screen share. Nicely done, thank you. Maggie, have you received any correspondence on this matter?
Only correspondence I've received is some calls from some individuals that I believe are present on, that they wanted just to confirm how to attend the meeting, and I see that they're here. So that's all I've received.
Very good, thank you. First, and John, thank you for your zoning analysis. So we know that this is going straight to planning board from here, so I won't belabor that. Next up then would be Matt.
Good morning, Matthew Rubble, DPW Engineering here. Speaking to what John O'Day had said a second ago, I did receive over those plans that you had sent me on Friday and the updated stormwater analysis calculations. My apologies. I thought I responded to your email earlier this week. I was able to review those stormwater calculations and everything lined up. It seems like the system should be sufficiently sized for the development. Covers the 25-year storm, and we have the impacts at least outlined for what the 100-year storm would be. I have been able to locate some sewer plans for you, John, as far as the elevations go for sewer lines in that area for your purposes of discerning if you'll need sleeving or not. I'm digging up some water department plans right now to see if we have anything potential elevation wise on that front that I can forward to you. That being said, I also received your sewer flow analysis calculation. It looked like everything was appropriately outlined for the office building, but I just wanted some clarification because you were calling out 1,100 gallons per day, I believe, in your email of sewage flow expected with the property. Are these going to be 1-bedroom units, or are they going to be, it looked like they were 2-bedroom units per building, which I had at about 2,200 gallons per flow. Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page with that. Either way, I'll verify that with our sewer modeling to make sure that we've got existing capacity for that. We shouldn't really have any issue with that, but I will reach out to you if anything develops on that front. When I go to forward the sewer plans, I'll look to have that response for you at the same time. My only other outstanding comment was just the need for an operations and maintenance plan for that drainage system. So we can go about working offline to get that prepared as you work through the permitting process. DPW Engineering has no other comment at this time, however.
Thank you. Next up, planning and development. Good timing.
Good.
Jim.
Thank you. Good morning, Jim Kupfer, Senior Planner, Planning and Development. Similar comments to our initial meeting. The relief for the 80% frontage build out as required under 240-2416B2C. The applicant may seek a special permit from the planning board. John, I was a little late. I don't know if you've adjusted the front building to meet the frontage setback. If not, you would need to seek a variance for that setback. If you do meet that setback, that is, preferable, obviously.
It is our intention to adjust that front building towards the street about a foot and a half so that we meet the 15 maximum setback, and that would be what is submitted to the planning.
That's great. Yeah, that's obviously preferable. As I mentioned, I think I sent you an email maybe a week or so ago. Did receive comments from the public regarding several plantings on the western property line. It would be great to take every initiative to protect those mature vegetation along that western property line. It looks like you have some separation between build out disturbance line and those shrubs and trees. So if there is a method, and perhaps when you're working with Mr. Vrobel, providing some detail in the construction management plan to protect that, that would be ideal if possible. Other than that, just simply that this does require one unit under our Chapter 9 affordable housing for inclusionary. And this is, just to reiterate, this is outside the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. That's all my comments.
Thank you, James. Building Division.
Thank you, Brian. Jeff Carter, Building Division. Just a couple quick notes that we discussed at informal, but a building permit will be required to demo the existing structure that's on the property. We're going to be looking for utility shutoffs for with that permit application. Each individual structure that's being built on the property will also require its own building permit, and any signs to go up on the property would require a sign permit through the Building Division. And those are just some permitting notes from us, Brian.
Great, thank you. Hyannis Fire.
Thanks, Brian. Good morning. Tim Landman, Hyannis Fire. Just going over our notes from informal. We had a question about whether or not the proposed egress window wells were going to impact the distance between the dwelling units themselves. It's marked right now as 12 feet between the walls. Do we ever get an answer on that, Jeff, as far as that goes?
It's my interpretation that building separation is done from the face of the structure. So there's no roof or anything over that, those structures, and it would be from the main face of the building.
All right, so that 12 feet is going to stay in effect then, that's proposed right now, not including the egress well, which is fine. As this goes on through permitting, we can talk about building numbering. As with demolition, reach out to us once that begins. Dumpster permits may be needed from Hyannis Fire depending on size of dumpster and their duration on the site. Other than that, just as before, we'll need an individual fire alarm permit for each of the 5 buildings that are proposed. And one thing I noted on the truck radius plan was that the wall-to-wall turning radius is marked incorrectly. They have it as 41 feet 6 on what was sent in, and the actual distance is 48 feet 4 inches. I just want to make sure that gets accounted for, so that in the event we've got to get in there, we can get the truck in without any difficulties. And other than that, that's it from Hyannis Fire right now. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks. Cap, does that need to be done before they can get an approval?
I'd like to see the corrected CAD design just to make sure that it is the numbers are all correct and we can fit the truck in there.
So then that means they won't be able to get an approval today, and we'll have to redo the formal site plan review.
The way it appears to be marked out on what was submitted, it looks like the correct distance is taken into account. It's just labeled incorrectly. I just want to get a verification on that if we can, probably from John O'Day, if he can answer that right now.
Can you give me a minute or two? I can go through that. I don't know if we can jump onto some of the other comments while I open up the.
Sure.
Okay.
This was.
We'll come back to you, Cap, in a minute. Okay.
Sure.
Right,
thank you.
Next up is Public Health.
Good morning, Thomas McKean. If these buildings will be rented out, which I'm not sure if they're going to be condominiums or rentals, but if they're rentals, they have to be registered with the health department each year. There's a fee involved for each unit that's going to be rented. and inspections. They'll measure the size of the bedrooms and make sure the kitchen facilities all work, et cetera, smoke detectors. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Licensing.
Good morning, Erin Logan Licensing. As this project stands today, we have no licensing requirements. Thank you.
Okay. Matt, were your things covered sufficiently for an approval today, or do you need to have this reviewed later?
I think that they can probably be covered either with the building permit process, just having stipulation that the operations and maintenance contract be included in that. But the rest of it, I mean, they're items that Hans would want covered anyways when he's going through permitting for the water system, or for the water services. And then same thing with the sewer connection permit. They get brought up there as far as the sleeving concern goes. So as long as we receive the operations and maintenance plan as part of the building permit process, I think we could do an approval today.
Are you comfortable with doing it before they go to site plan review, getting that information prior to the planning board meeting instead of?
Yeah, I think that should be fine.
That's a little sooner than permitting. John, what'd you figure out there?
I believe that is just a mislabel because we have the curb to curb is 41.6 and then the wall to wall is also labeled as 41.6. So that was just a typo on the plans that can certainly be corrected to, it is 48.4. So we can correct that.
Are you okay with that, Cap?
I am. Thank you.
I'll ask for the corrected plans prior to the planning board hearing. All right. Staff, you see any other reason why this project can't move forward as proposed with those conditions? All right, then I'd like to open this meeting up to the public. If you'd like to speak on behalf of this project, please make yourself known by either raising your hand or using a reaction in Zoom. All right. Seeing none, I'd find this matter.
Mr. Flynn, sorry, I think John Zulo would like to make a comment.
All right, Mr. Zulu.
John Zulo, 54 Main, a butter. I had spoke with Maggie a couple of times and regarding the trees along the property line, that those remain intact. They're mature leavands and arborvitaes that are planted on the property line. Considering that 4 out of the 5 buildings are going to be 5 feet from the property line and constructed at 2.5 stories. It is very close to the property line. And speaking with Mr. Moran on several occasions, he had informed me that the trees would have to come down. And then the last conversation we had, he had stated, you know, I'll do my best to keep them. I've been at 54 Main for 30 years, and the concerns aren't just the trees. I have a 4-family dwelling. The neighbors that are immediately to my, looking at the front of the house to the left, there's condominium complex, and there is, I believe, 6 units that are within 12 feet. It's the back of their condos. There's air conditioning condensers, and now on the right, on the proposed plan, there's going to be 8 units, again 5 feet off the property line, with AC condensers, whatever their plans are. The noise level that myself and the tenants have to deal with, I think is going to be very difficult. There's mold issues with the existing property that has been ongoing for years. The amount of sun that's going to be blocked from constructing these buildings 5 feet off the property line could end up being a problem. Fire is an issue where the properties are going to be so close to one another. I think that the site plan needs to just look at all, these concerns and see if it's going to be the right plan for that property. I think it's going to change the dynamic of what downtown Hyannis is. The construction of 5 2-unit buildings, guessing there'd be anywhere from 25 to 40 additional residents in such close proximity to one another, might not be such a great idea. However, I think that the concerns that I have is something to think about and take into consideration. Again, being there for so long, I just don't want my tenants or myself to have to endure the right of peace and quiet with all these additional neighbors immediately next door to us, both sides. That's
sir.
pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make comments? All right, hearing none, I find this matter is approvable with the condition that you get the Hyannis Fire and DPW engineering matters addressed prior to planning board meeting, and that you obviously go to the planning board to address the issue that you have with relation to the that front building. So, any questions, John?
I think we're in good shape. Appreciate the
All right.
guidance we've been getting at the meetings and offline. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for being our first case under this process. You did a great job. All right. Thank you. That concludes site plan review for today. And I hope you folks have a good rest of your day.